Respected viewers, dear family of dreamers, what if I told you that at this very moment, somewhere between your past struggles and your future success, a silent decision is being made, a decision that will determine whether your life becomes a story of quiet regret or quiet abundance? What if the difference between those two paths is not how much you earn, but how you treat every single dollar that passes through your hands? Time is watching, silently, patiently, and wealth is not running away from you. It is simply waiting to see whether you are ready. I speak to you not as someone above you, but as someone who has walked through the same storms, who has made the same mistakes, who has wasted money in ways that felt small in the moment, but heavy in the years that followed. There was a time when money felt like something that slipped through my fingers like sand. I would earn. I would feel proud. And then slowly, quietly, it would disappear. Not in one big mistake, but in 1,000 tiny ones. A coffee here, a shortcut there, a purchase made out of emotion, not intention. And the strange thing is, most people don't even realize it's happening. They think wealth is lost in big risks, in failed businesses, in bad investments. But no, wealth is quietly destroyed in daily habits, in unconscious spending, in the belief that it's just a small amount, repeated over and over again. I remember sitting alone one evening, looking at my bank account, asking myself a question that changed everything. Where did it all go? Not in anger, not in frustration, but in deep, honest curiosity. And that's when I realized something most people never stop to see. Money does not disappear. It is always exchanged for something. The real question is, what are you exchanging your life for? Because every dollar you spend is not just money. It is time. It is energy. It is a piece of your life that you will never get back. When you begin to see money this way, everything changes. Have seen people with high incomes still living in quiet anxiety because their habits were stronger than their discipline. I have seen people with very little build something extraordinary simply because they respected every small decision. There was a young man I once knew, full of dreams, full of ambition, but trapped in a cycle he didn't understand. Every time he felt stressed, he spent. Every time he felt successful, he celebrated with spending. And every time he failed, he tried to escape the feeling by spending again. He wasn't lazy. He wasn't careless. He was simply unaware that his emotions were controlling his financial life. And this is where most people lose the game. Not in the market, not in business, but within themselves. Because the truth is, making money is not the hardest part. Keeping it, growing it, respecting it, that is where the real challenge begins. I too made early mistakes. Investments that went nowhere. Opportunities I chased out of excitement, not wisdom. I remember putting money into something just because everyone else was doing it. It felt safe. It felt right, but deep down, there was a quiet voice telling me, this is not your path. I ignored it, and I paid the price, not just financially, but emotionally. Because every loss carries a lesson, but only if you are willing to sit with it, instead of running away from it. And that's the turning point most people avoid. They don't want to face their patterns. They don't want to admit that, maybe, just maybe, the problem is not the world, not the economy, not the lack of opportunities, but their own relationship with money. You see, money is not just a tool. It is a reflection of your discipline, your patience, your values, your ability to delay gratification. And this is where the simple strategy begins. Not with a complex formula, not with a secret investment, but with a shift in awareness. Stop wasting money does not mean stop living. It means start living consciously. It means asking yourself before every decision, is this moving me forward or keeping me stuck? I remember a time when I chose not to spend on something I deeply wanted, not because I couldn't afford it, but because I understood something greater, that the ability to say no is more powerful than the ability to say yes. That moment, small as it seemed, was a victory, a quiet victory that no one saw, but it changed something inside me, because discipline is not loud. It does not seek attention. It builds silently over time. Most people want big results, quickly. They want wealth to appear like magic, but they are not willing to master the small moments, the everyday decisions, the invisible habits, and that is why they remain where they are, not because they are incapable, but because they are inconsistent. Let me tell you something deeply important. Wealth is not built in years. It is built in moments. Moments when you choose long-term over short-term, purpose over pleasure, clarity over impulse. There was a phase in my life where progress felt invisible. I was saving. I was investing. I was being careful. But nothing seemed to change. And that is where most people give up, because they cannot see the results. They feel like their effort is wasted, like nothing is working. But what they don't understand is, the greatest transformations are happening beneath the surface, like roots growing before the tree appears, like discipline forming before wealth follows. Patience is the quiet force behind every meaningful success. And yet, it is the one thing most people lack. They want results now, they want proof now, they want success now, but life does not work that way. Life rewards those who are willing to wait and work without immediate applause. I have seen people abandon their journey just moments before things began to change, not because they were wrong, but because they were impatient. And impatience is one of the most expensive habits you can have, because it makes you trade your future for temporary comfort. Now, listen carefully. If you truly want to stop wasting money, you must first stop wasting your attention. Because where your attention goes and your money follows. If your attention is controlled by advertisements, by trends, by comparison, then your money will always flow outward. But if your attention is guided by purpose, by clarity, by long-term vision, then your money will begin to serve you instead of control you. This is the simple strategy: awareness, discipline, patience. It sounds simple, but it is not easy, because it requires you to change, not your income, but your identity, to become someone who respects money, who understands it, who uses it as a tool, not as an escape. And that journey begins quietly, with a single decision. A decision that no one else will see. A decision that may feel small, but carries the weight of your future. A decision to pause, just for a moment, before you spend, and ask yourself, what am I really seeking right now? Because often, it is not the thing you are buying. It is the feeling behind it: comfort, validation, distraction, a temporary sense of control. And once you begin to recognize this, something powerful begins to happen. You separate your emotions from your actions. You stop reacting and start choosing. And that is where true financial strength is born. I want you to understand something deeply, something most people learn too late. Money respects clarity. It flows toward those who know exactly why they are keeping it and where they are taking it. When you have no direction, no vision, money becomes restless. It slips away and it finds its way into distractions, into things that feel good today, but mean nothing tomorrow. But when you give your money a purpose, even a small one, it begins to stay. It begins to grow quietly, steadily. There was a time when I made a simple shift. I stopped asking, "Can I afford this?" and started asking, "Is this aligned with the life I am building?" And that single question changed everything, because affordability is a dangerous illusion. You can afford many things and still remain stuck. But alignment forces you to think beyond the moment. It connects your present actions to your future self. And once you start living that way, your entire relationship with money transforms. You no longer feel deprived. You feel directed. You no longer feel restricted. You feel intentional. And slowly, almost invisibly, your habits begin to change. You start valuing what truly matters and letting go of what doesn't. But let me be honest with you. This path is not easy. There will be moments when you feel like you are missing out, when others around you seem to be enjoying life more, spending freely, living without concern, and you are holding back, choosing discipline, choosing restraint. In those moments, your mind will whisper doubts. Is this worth it? Am I being too strict? Maybe I should just enjoy now. And this is where your character is tested, because success is not built in comfort. It is built in those quiet moments of resistance, when no one is watching, when there is no applause, when it's just you and your decision. I have sat in those moments many times, watching others move fast, chasing excitement, while I stayed still, focused, patient. And I will tell you something that only time can reveal. The ones who move fast often circle back, but the ones who move with purpose keep moving forward, silently, steadily, without needing validation. There is a kind of peace that comes from knowing you are building something real, not something that looks good, but something that lasts. And that peace is far more valuable than any temporary pleasure. Let's talk about something most people avoid: delayed gratification. It sounds simple, but it carries immense power. It is the ability to say, "Not now, so that I can have more later." And in a world that constantly pushes you to consume, to indulge, to satisfy every desire instantly, this ability becomes your greatest advantage, because while others are spending their future, you are protecting yours. While others are chasing moments, you are building momentum. And the truth is, most people don't fail financially because they lack intelligence. They fail because they lack emotional discipline. They know what to do, but they don't do it consistently. They understand saving, investing, budgeting. But when the moment comes, when temptation appears, they give in. And every time they do, they weaken the very muscle that creates wealth. But you are different, because you are here, listening, reflecting, questioning. And that alone puts you ahead of many. Now let me share something deeply important. Consistency will feel boring. There will be no excitement in saving regularly, in investing patiently, in saying no again and again. It will feel slow, repetitive, almost invisible. And that is exactly why it works. Because most people cannot stay committed to something that doesn't give immediate reward. They need stimulation, they need proof, they need excitement, and when they don't get it, they quit. But wealth does not respond to excitement. It responds to consistency, small actions, repeated over time, quiet decisions, made with clarity. This is how real progress is built, not in leaps, but in layers, layer by layer, decision by decision, until one day you look back and realize you are no longer where you used to be, not because of one big breakthrough, but because you refuse to break your discipline. And there is something beautiful about that journey, something deeply fulfilling. Because you know, every step was earned, every sacrifice mattered, every moment of patience had a purpose. Now imagine this, a version of you, a few years from now, calm, confident, not worried about every expense, not controlled by every desire, a person who understands money, not just how to earn it, but how to keep it, grow it, and use it wisely. That version of you is not created overnight. It is built slowly, through choices like the ones you are making today. So the next time you feel the urge to spend without thinking, pause, take a breath, and remind yourself, I am not just making a purchase. I am shaping my future. And in that quiet pause, something shifts. You begin to feel a sense of control, not over the world, but over yourself. And that is where true wealth begins. Not in your bank account, but in your mind. Because when your mind is calm, disciplined, and clear, your actions follow naturally. You no longer chase money. You guide it. You no longer fear loss. You understand it. You no longer depend on luck. You rely on habits. There comes a time when the noise of the world starts to fade. The pressure to keep up, the urge to impress, the endless comparison. It all becomes distant, and in its place, something far more valuable appears. Clarity, a quiet understanding of what truly matters and what never did. You start to see that many of the things you once thought were needs were simply distractions, moments that pulled you away from your path, slowly, subtly, and now, you no longer feel pulled, you feel grounded. There is a calm confidence in knowing that you are no longer living on the edge of your income, no longer trapped in cycles of earning and spending, but instead, you are building something steady, something meaningful, something lasting, and this brings a kind of peace that cannot be purchased, a peace that comes from alignment, from knowing that your daily actions match your deeper purpose. You wake up without that quiet anxiety, that hidden stress about money, because you know you are in control, not because you have everything, but because you understand everything. And understanding is far more powerful than possession. I have seen people with great wealth, still restless, still uncertain, still searching, and I have seen those with modest means, completely at peace, because they mastered something far greater than money. They mastered themselves. They learned when to say yes and when to walk away. They learned to value time more than trends, purpose more than pleasure. And slowly, life began to reward them, not always loudly, not always quickly, but consistently. Opportunities began to appear, decisions became easier, mistakes became fewer, and over time, the results spoke quietly, but clearly. Now let me leave you with something simple, yet powerful. You do not need a perfect plan. You do not need the perfect time. You do not need more information. What you need is a decision to stop leaking your future through unconscious habits, a decision to respect every small action, every small choice, because those small choices are not small at all. They are the architects of your life. From this day forward, let your money have direction, let your actions have intention, let your patience become your strength, and let your discipline become your identity. Then, listen closely and let this settle not just in your mind, but deep within your heart. Because everything we have spoken about, every lesson, every quiet realization, leads to one simple truth. Your life will not change when you earn more. It will change when you become more aware, more disciplined, more patient, more intentional. Money is not the beginning of the journey. It is the reflection of who you become along the way. If you chase money without changing yourself, it will come and go like a passing wind. But if you build yourself, your habits, your thinking, your discipline, then money will stay, grow, and serve you. This is not about restriction. This is not about living a life of denial. This is about alignment, about waking up each day, knowing that your actions are in harmony with your future, that every decision you make, no matter how small, is moving you closer, not pulling you away. There is a quiet kind of abundance that very few people ever experience. It is not loud. It does not seek attention. It is the peace of knowing. You are not controlled by your desires. The confidence of knowing. You can wait. You can choose. You can lead your own life. And when you reach that place, wealth becomes a byproduct, not a goal, not an obsession, just a natural result of a life lived with clarity, patience, and purpose. So take a moment now, breathe, and make a silent promise to yourself that from this day forward, you will not waste your money on things that do not build your future, that you will not trade your time, your energy, your life for temporary satisfaction, that you will walk this path slowly, patiently, but with unwavering discipline. Because the truth is, you do not need to rush. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. All you need is to stay consistent, stay aware, and stay true to your vision. And one day, quietly, without noise, without announcement, you will look around your life and realize you are no longer chasing wealth. You are living it in peace, in control, in quiet abundance.